who don't know me, I'm Marta Manning, and I'm the president of the NAMI Midland chapter. And I just wanted to give a short educational session today about psychiatric medications and weight gain side effects. So this is a more common situation than you might think, and it affects a lot of people. And in fact, weight gain from anywhere from 20 to 60 pounds is actually very common with this situation. And what typically happens is that somebody gets released from the hospital and their life is falling apart. They are so stressed out. Their families are so stressed out. They were barely able to get everything under control, get their meds under control, working with their doctor, that nobody's even thinking about this at the beginning. And patients are sent home, and gradually the weight gain creeps up, 10 pounds this month, 10 pounds the next month, until you have a situation that's hard to deal with. And this is really hard for people. It can affect your self-esteem and self-confidence. And then not only are you dealing with a diagnosis of a mental illness, which is so difficult to deal with, but you're also dealing with this weight gain and kind of assembling all that into your new identity and your new routine. So what also happens in the body at the same time in general with these side effects is that your blood sugar regulation gets out of whack. So you will be craving carbs, you'll be craving sweets, and you'll be eating them, and so your blood sugar spikes. And then before long, it's metabolized, and there's a low in blood sugar, which makes you feel headachy, hungry, dizzy, grumpy, and just overall bad. So what do? You eat more carbs, and the cycle begins again. So that is another thing that's going on and something to keep in mind along with the weight gain. So what are some of the medications that can cause weight gain? So antipsychotics are a huge culprit. So they can cause some of the biggest gains. Zyprexa, Clozaril, Seroquel, even some of the others like Abilify that we're told have a better side effect profile, they can still cause some weight gain in some people. Also the mood stabilizers, so lithium, lamictal, Depakote, people can gain a lot of weight on those drugs as well. Same thing with some antidepressants, not all, but for example, Lexapro and Paxil and Prozac have all been linked to weight gain as well. So that's just the psychiatric medications, but what about everything else? And because of all the family members here and everybody else, I just wanted to bring up some of the other drugs that can also cause weight gain. So for example, steroids. If you have an autoimmune condition like Crohn's disease, you may be prescribed prednisone, and that is a drug that has really been linked to serious gains. Also, antihistamines, just allergy medication like Zyrtec, and what else do we have here? Diabetes drugs like insulin, and beta blockers for high blood pressure, also linked to weight gain. Now, if the drug is not on this list, it doesn't mean that it doesn't cause weight gain in some people. These are just some of the top contenders that have been found to do it. So when the doctor gave this list to my family, my reaction was, oh my gosh. It's overwhelming. It's like half the drugs are prescribed cause weight gain, or if it's the case with psych meds, almost all of them. So what are you going to do? So in the rest of my presentation, I'm going to go over what is happening in the body biochemistry-wise, just an overview, and then some of the things that you can do to help with this. So along with drugs, other things are contributing to weight gain, and this goes along to the whole population, not just people that take psychiatric medication. So one of the biggest culprits is alcohol. Alcohol can really reduce your metabolism, and it also messes with your hormones. So it really changes your metabolic profile, and if you add that on top of your medication, you can have a serious problem. Also, genetics play a role, just like with everything else. So some people don't gain any weight on psychiatric medications, not at all, and some people do, and scientists are identifying the genes that can be responsible for this. And then finally, the craving and binging cycle that I kind of mentioned before. So you have cravings for foods that are high calorie or fattening, and this might lead to binging. And you might think that, okay, maybe if I have 10 cookies once a week, it won't make a difference, but it all adds up over time. So these are all some other factors that come into play. So here's the biochemistry section, and I'll just go over this very quickly. Hello. So just for people walking in, presenting on medications and weight gain side effects. And this presentation is being filmed, but I'm the only person in the shot. So one of the things that's going on is that these drugs mess with this hormone called histamine. So histamine actually reduces appetite. But what these drugs do is that they antagonize histamine. So your body doesn't really register that it's being produced. So your appetite stays at that higher level. Also, it messes with another hormone called leptin. So leptin is another hunger hormone. So that regulates the feeling of fullness. So when your body's producing leptin and is being recognized, in general, you feel a nice full feeling and you don't want to eat anymore. Well, some of these medications suppress the leptin response, and you continue to feel hungry. Finally, and this is a real big one, this is a real big mechanism that comes into play, and that's insulin resistance. So this goes along with your sugar metabolism, and it can be implicated in diabetes as well. This is not full-blown diabetes, but with insulin resistance, you get into a cycle where you eat bad carbs, so your body produces insulin, but then because of the insulin resistance, it's not registering. So even more insulin is produced. If you're even hungrier, you eat more carbs, and the cycle goes on. Stress really affects your body very badly. So it really messes with your whole balance, your metabolism. It makes you accumulate fat around your abdomen, which has shown to be unhealthy and lead to higher risk of heart disease, for example. Also, it contributes to greater insulin resistance and raising the stress hormones, obviously. Now, individuals living with mental illness and their families are under a tremendous amount of stress. Not only do they stress about the things everybody stresses about, we're a high-stress society, so work, relationships, kids, school, etc., but they stress about their diagnosis. They stress about their illness. They stress about their prognosis, how are things going to be for them in the future. Family members worry about their loved ones. So all of this really accumulates to more and more stress. And as some of you might know, stress is desserts spelled backwards. When we're stressed, we want candy, we want sweets, we want desserts, we want things that will make us feel good. And the reason that these things are making us feel good is because carbs lead to production of more serotonin in the brain, which is the feel-good chemical. So there are some medications that have been found in some people to help with the weight gain side effect from psychiatric meds in particular. Now, the fact that these meds work for some people doesn't mean that they work for others. And also, they're all prescription medications with potential side effects of their own. So they need to be discussed with your physician. Some people won't be good candidates for them. And again, they're not a silver bullet. One medication I want to talk about is metformin. So metformin targets the insulin resistance effect, and it reduces cravings and also helps glucose be metabolized using it in the muscles. And what people have seen with metformin a lot is that their weight will stabilize. Some people lose a little bit, a few pounds, but in general it can help to stabilize people's weight. Also, another drug is naltrexone. Now, naltrexone is an addiction medication. So its main uses right now are for alcohol and opiate addiction. But food can be an addiction too, and I think we all know that. So this addiction drug is being prescribed in some patients, and it reduces addictive behavior around food. So, for example, having a habit of always having cheesecake for dessert, you may not want it anymore. And it also regulates the hunger hormones in ways that are still being researched. So in a study of 24 women, and I have the links to the studies over here, if anybody is interested, I can give them a copy of the slides if you just talk to me later. Oh, okay, great. So in a study of 24 women, on average, they lost 9 pounds in 2 months on naltrexone, which is pretty decent. It's noticeable. And finally, Topamax. So Topamax is a drug that's being used in weight loss prescriptions in general, but with the psychiatric medications, it also targets the addiction center of the brain and alters hormone levels. And a big study was done on Topamax with 500 patients, and they showed a weight loss range of 3 to 9 pounds within a couple months. So again, these drugs can make a difference, and often, especially if you can notice the weight gain early, something like metformin that can stabilize your weight gain from happening could be really helpful. So really paying attention is important. So what else can we do done other than medications? Because a lot of us don't want to take more medications. It's the last thing we want. So of course there's diet and exercise, and this is the first thing that anybody will tell you. Why don't you just diet? Why don't you just exercise? Well, the fact is that for individuals living with mental illness, diet and exercise are more difficult. So it can be challenging. So they have enough of a trouble getting into their new routine that adding exercise or extreme diet changes into it can be overwhelming. So that's one problem that people can have. One piece of advice is to pick a form of exercise that you actually like. So if I decide that I'm going to lift 100 pounds 50 times, 5 times a week, I might not like that, and I might not do that. And so, that might lead to more feelings of kind of depression and just giving up. But if you pick something like walking or biking, maybe that would be more doable for you. It depends on the person, but these things can be cheaper than expensive exercise equipment or joining gyms, and sometimes can be more sustainable for people. And also it gets you outside, which helps with depression. As far as diets, it seems, looking at the studies, that every diet that people try, if they stick to it, it can make a difference, at least of 5 to 10 pounds at least. But you have to stick with it. You have to not cheat. You have to follow the rules. So there's low carb diets, there's vegan diets, balanced, low fat. So you can really pick one that you think you can stick to. Once again, a lot of people have told me about Weight Watchers as a really positive experience. So that gives a community support element. So, you're with a bunch of peers that are going through similar things. You support each other. So that can really help, no matter what diet you're following, I think. Or just having friends that are going through something similar, that can obviously help too. Sometimes things like increasing your water intake, it can help you from feeling so hungry all the time. Increasing fiber, that has been shown to help a little bit with weight loss. And really mindfulness. So mindfulness is basically living in the present. It started out as a form of meditation where instead of saying Om or breathing, we focus on the present. What's going on around us? What can we feel, taste, touch, hear, etc.? Focus on the senses. So the way mindfulness can help here is that you're not dwelling on the past so much. Oh my gosh, I used to be so skinny, what happened? Or the future, worrying about it. Oh, what are people going to think about me at this party when I show up after having gained 30 pounds in 2 months? So you try to focus on the moment. And in this area, we're really blessed to have really good resources for mindfulness. So if you're interested, you can see me afterwards, and I'll be happy to share that information with you. Also, what can you do? What else can you do? Well, the thing is, haters are going to hate. You're going to get negative comments, and you're going to need to ignore them because people don't understand what you're going through. This is not well known. It's not well talked about in the media, in my opinion. And so people don't know that certain drugs actually cause weight gain. I know I never knew that before our family was in that situation. So they put my mother on Zyprexa in the hospital, and I think she gained 40 pounds, maybe just 8 weeks. So it was, and at least fortunately in her case, they could put her on a different drug. But for a lot of people, that's not an option. Only 1 or 2 drugs work, and you have to stick with them. And so that's all you have. I think working with your doctor is absolutely essential. So both your internist and your psychiatrist, they can help you track your weight gain and see if it's something that is to be looked at more closely. And they really work as a team together, the internal medicine doctor and the psychiatrist. So keeping good record of your health markers like cholesterol, triglycerides, high blood pressure, blood sugar, that's all very important because these drugs can mess with those things as well. And in that case, the doctors need to decide what to do. So what can we do when cravings strike? So we all get cravings, and usually they're probably not for broccoli. So what can we do? So one tactic that you could try, and this kind of goes along with mindfulness, is try to dissect your cravings and take a moment and figure out what flavor am I craving, what sensation am I craving, and then just think, is there anything that's kind of similar but healthier that would help me control the craving? Well, craving candy, maybe some pineapple, creamy, maybe some Greek yogurt, crunchy potato chips, maybe some nuts. I'm sure I'm making all of you guys hungry. And you know, it works for a lot of things. It really does. Craving cake, I don't know. You might just be out of luck because some things are just not replaceable. But for a lot of things, you really can. If you just take that moment and kind of reduce that impulsivity of I have to have it now, just try to figure something out that's healthy, and maybe that'll at least make you less hungry. So one diet I wanted to focus on is the South Beach diet. So what makes this diet a little bit different is that it focuses on the glycemic index, which is the effect of foods on blood sugar. So different foods have a different effect on your blood sugar in terms of some of them will really spike it and then cause a crash later, while some will have a more gradual response within the blood sugar. So in the South Beach diet, I gave some examples of South Beach diet-friendly foods. There's a whole plan you go by, but it really focuses on vegetables and lean proteins, dairy and nuts and things like that. I mean, you can look at this and say, oh gosh, all the things I can't have, but there's a lot of things you can have too. And this has just really been shown to reduce cravings. So because of the effect on the blood sugar response. So that's just one reason I wanted to kind of highlight that particular diet. Finally, eventually you're going to have to reach self-acceptance one way or another, whether you've lost all your weight or whether it's settled at a certain point, whether you have to accept your diagnosis or the diagnosis of a family member. Acceptance becomes key, and just saying that you are good enough right now. Sometimes the side effects with weight gain and etc., they defy all treatment, and everything that you didn't really help as much, but you can tell yourself that you tried your best, and that's really, really important. Finally, for families, what can you do to help your family member if they're struggling with this? So first of all, reducing stress in the environment, because like I said, stress is just really bad for you, and it makes this problem worse. So if there's anything you can do to reduce stress and pressure in the environment, that would be great. Also fostering self-acceptance, so just telling your loved one that how great they are, if they do something well, maybe not focusing on the superficial things, seeing the big picture. If you could exercise with your loved one, that's wonderful, and it's going to be great for everybody. I think as long as your doctor approves the form of exercise, exercise is good for everyone in one way or another. And then finally, if you are in charge of buying the groceries, or if you tend to be the person that does that for your house, just try to get healthier things. Try to get more fruits and vegetables and healthy proteins, and try to get less of the candy and the cookies, because say you're craving sweets and you have a Twix bar extra large lying right here, chances are you're going to eat it.